Well, hey YouTube, this is Ben Yessel. I know precisely what I'm going to talk about in this video. Precisely. Does have a link, of course, to what I was talking about just a little bit earlier. But of course, I'm deciding to do this video with, I don't know, maybe just no light. And by the way, in passing, I did get a comment about um, some person didn't like one of my no light videos. You can probably guess how seriously I took that comment. As in, me, not really going to change. About as seriously as I took the lip smacking comment quite a while back. Someone was a little bit rude in their dislike of my smacking my lips on my own YouTube videos. Yeah, riffraff, right? Well, hey, if all of my YouTube viewers, if all my viewers of my channel, if they were all really amazing, upstanding, kindly, considerate, mature, etc. people, I guess we wouldn't have any issues, but what can you do, right? Anyway. So, I like these no light videos for my own reasons. You don't have to think about what you're watching. You can just think about what I'm saying. It's a little bit easier just to kind of focus on this one thing, right? We have too much sensory overload as it is a lot of times in life anyway. So, I feel like I have to bring up this subject again. And this is, I'm going to entitle it YouTube Idiots Part 2, Emphasis on Humor. Because, well, yeah. Humor is a funny thing. In more ways, it's an unintended pun, but there you go. There's the pun. Humor is a funny thing. Well, it should be funny, right? It should be. When we hear something that's humorous, we should find it funny. But there's also that double meaning of the word funny. As in, there's something kind of hard to explain about it. Something that's unique to everybody. You have many different types of humor, and then more than many types. Probably have as many types of humor as there are people. But I'm sure you guys have heard something like that before. It's probably been said before. It shouldn't sound all that unique. But, okay. So, here I am talking to you guys on my YouTube channel. If there was a time that I remember in my life when basically when I talked to somebody, it was either face to face or via the phone. And I remember the first time when we actually got emails. Well, I thought of emails as kind of like an electronic letter. I guess, I suppose I could talk to somebody via letters. So in person, on the phone, or letters. There was a time when things were like that. And I definitely remember that time. That was the 80s and much of the 90s. Then we had, emails that started coming into play that really were more of a thing, I guess you could say, in the 2000s, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we started having the very beginnings of greater texting on cell phones, that sort of thing, in the very end of the 90s. And I remember first time I saw chat rooms and things. That was all later 90s. So we're, I guess you could say mid to later, mid to later 90s. Anyway, so you have the 2000s. Eventually, you get to 2007, birth of YouTube, and there's many things that there's Facebook preceded um, YouTube, by the way, and you had phones got more sophisticated. Uh, well, anyway, Facebook provided, eventually you had instant messaging, and now you have YouTube, and then there's many things that came after YouTube. So we have a number of ways that you can talk to people and communicate with people. There's also Skype, There's more ways that you can communicate with somebody now than we might have be aware of. I mean, and then we have online. They have a Zoom, and you have Skype. Along with Skype, you have Zoom, and you have Microsoft Teams, and you have something else that I'm using that I'm not thinking of right now. Oh, I don't know, Facebook something or other. It's Messenger again, but I'm thinking of all these different ways we communicate in the same wavelength as I'm thinking about the concept of humor. Because, and I'm also going to bring in some other stuff too, of course. What does something what does something need to involve in order for something that's been said um, that let me back up. Sorry. What elements need to be present in any kind of communication, uh, before, I'm saying this again, what elements need to be present in any kind of communication before it can be understood by all or both or all parties that humor is involved? Even though I've said that, I finally said the complete thought, I'll say it one more time. What elements in any kind of communication need to be involved before we can say that humor is definitely involved or recognized in all parties? And there's the type of communication and what it allows for. There's also different people's personalities, dispositions, awarenesses, right? Perceptions or perceptiveness, but also attitudes and what subject matters they just don't joke about. So I want you guys to think about this concept of humor. One of the types of humor that I have really not, one of many types of humor that I just haven't found particularly humorous. It has to do with mild sarcasm. But that was particularly the case when I was a boy, but I really noticed more of the tone of mild sarcasm, not mean sarcasm, but mild sarcasm. I noticed that tone or identified it like when I was 13, right at that ballpark. Some kids notice it much earlier, some later. For me, it was 13. But I didn't really find it particularly humorous. But there was nothing wrong with it. I was like, oh, that's just being sarcastic, right? Or sometimes it was kind of funny. Just on just regarding sarcasm, when do you guys find something sarcastic funny or just kind of ho hum? Well, if you I guess this isn't really sarcasm, but if you see somebody that's doing a exaggerated impersonation of somebody else. I suppose that's not sarcasm, but it is kind of mockery, right? Or it can be. But maybe not necessarily mockery. Maybe it's a compliment. Or maybe it's just funny. Maybe it's just slapstick. Maybe I'm thinking of something that's definitely more humorous than just, you know, mild sarcasm. Um, I mean, yeah, it's obviously very funny. What if somebody's just like, um, well, yeah, anyway, there's a lot of things that you could say that are just mildly sarcastic, right? But usually it's more of an eye rolling, yeah, kind of thing, right? Usually. It's a similar kind of deal with bad puns. But the thing about bad puns is at first it's just like the eye roll. Then it's just like someone has an exaggerated laugh. That's so funny. And maybe there's ways of doing that where it doesn't sound mean, right? Insulting the person who's had the bad pun. And if it can sound more um I mean, depending on the way a person acts, it can be really, very funny or it can be insulting, right? Or it can just be like, but you see what I'm saying? Humor has these branches. Depending on our personalities and ages, or whatever it is, or maturity level, whatever it is, wherever we're at in life, there's all these different split-second decisions we can make about how we respond to something that, at least for one party or one person, is considered humorous. But it's a wide spectrum. It's a wide range of different responses. You can't expect somebody. I'm looking at not just members of my church, but many others as well. But there are certain people that when they hear a story about, somebody is complaining about how often other people complain about hard work, and they themselves have a situation where they are working really hard to get their ox out of the mire. And it's really hard, and they start complaining. I don't know. That's not a very good example, but there's kind of that rustic farm humor, or just kind of the aw shucks, everything will be okay, or just I'm not really doing it justice. I don't have this type of humor. This type of humor I'm talking about is not really something that is a big part of my psyche, but it's this kind of homespun kind of humor that folks sometimes in my church, and I know I'm thinking about mainly sometimes older folks, but there's for some folks they find this really funny or heartwarming, right? But then of course it's very highbrow. It's a nice kind of thing. It's definitely not slapstick. It's kind of one of those knowing, right? Knowing but loving kinds of humor. And other people would be like, "That's not funny." And there's a lot of things like that we're told at general conferences in my church. General conferences are where everybody, hears things from leaders of my church and, gospel stuff. And it's very much, Ten Commandments, and it's be good and be nice to all the ladies and be all that stuff, right? So we'd hear these stories, and sometimes they were pretty funny, but when everybody is laughing around you, some more than others, and you're like, uh, am I supposed to laugh some more? When that happens, you're like, did I miss something? What am I? And then I look at my dad, and my dad's like, no, it's funny, but like you wonder on some level, am I normal? Am I getting it? Okay. I feel like I have to mention something like this, along with the mild sarcasm, along with maybe the wild impersonations and the Jim Carrey stuff and the Robin Williams over the top shtick, right? And then there's the Mel Brooks stuff, right, where he's just being a ham. You see, and then there's other types of humor. And then there's the bad puns, and then there's a witticism. Of course, there's Andrew Lloyd Webber, and then you have Martin Short, who's he really is a funny guy. He knows what works, and you can mention all these different types of humor, black humor, and Eddie Murphy, and all this stuff. it's just on and on and on. I mean, there's no end. There's literally no end to the types of humor there are. Whether types of things. Yeah, I can't think of. There's situational humor, but awkward situations. You just laugh at it. We often laugh if we're nervous, but we can laugh at it more easily when we're not in the middle of something awkward. And I'm not talking about something particularly embarrassing or just. I'm just talking about it's an awkward situation, and maybe we've been there, so we understand. It's a sympathetic laugh, or it's everybody's okay, we're all okay. We're not making fun of anything. It's all good. Or no one's making fun of anybody. It's just it is awkward, or it's funny. You know. Anyway, I don't know. Okay, so, but all these different kinds of humor, they often involve hearing someone's voice, seeing someone's face. Let me say that again. They often involve hearing someone's voice or seeing someone's face. When you watch stand up, you're watching stand up. You're literally hearing someone's voice and you're seeing their face, even if it's on TV or YouTube or whatever. If you don't get the humor, you can stop. Wait, why is everybody laughing? Am I not getting something? You go look up a subject and be like, oh, I get it now. I get it. Ha ha ha. Right? And you can do that when you're watching something, or even if you have your friends over and you're watching something on TV, it's really funny. Which, of course, I know we don't do a whole lot right now because it's COVID-19. But even if you're, hopefully in the future, or everybody has the masks on, or everybody trusts everybody, nobody has COVID-19, or whatever. If you, okay, or it's you on YouTube, and you see something funny, and everybody laugh, people laugh, and people notice that you're not laughing as much, or you're laughing more than them, or whatever it is, and you can stop whatever you're watching, maybe, or wait till a commercial, or I think we can stop. No, we should have capability of stopping the program. And so I don't get it. And around your friends, if they are indeed your real friends, you can say, some part about this I'm not really getting, and your friends will explain it to you, and you go, oh, I get it now, or I think it's funny, or you're like, oh, at least I understand it, what they're saying, right? And no one thinks anything of it. It's the thing about humor is it's not something. There's many different kinds of humor. Some humor, it doesn't matter if you get it or not. Some humor is just you just should be funny or not, and if it's funny or it's not funny, then Like Zach Galifianakis is a perfect example of stuff that can go over people's heads, but that's okay because you actually don't feel bad for it going over your head because he's being so clever about it. About and the other people are too, the actors and actresses he's interviewing. They're so good at acting. Well, some of them are more sincere, more for real than others. But everybody knows it's kind of well, I that's between two ferns, right? Um, but you don't feel embarrassed or something ever going over your head even slightly. And a lot of people, very intelligent people can have certain kinds of humor that might go over their heads just a little bit. Or, more especially, other people won't always observe everything about somebody's awareness of jokes or not. But you have other elements that come into play as well with humor. You just have certain subjects that people don't always find very amusing. And not just talking about sex. Right? That's not just about sex stuff. It's other things as well. I don't find fighting fighting. I don't find fighting humorous. I don't know why that is. But when you're talking about two people boxing or martial arts, or, this is maybe where I differ from Joe Rogan a little bit. I suppose if I really didn't think very highly of somebody that was being an arrogant jerk, I would definitely find jokes about that person to be, ha ha ha. But this is a little bit like the bullying kind of thing, right? And there's a lot of this semi-bully mentality in MMA and Joe Rogan's bit like this anyway. I think he'd readily admit it. And it's a New York City thing. Absolutely. People pick on the little guy, or they pick on or some people are seen as being more jerks. And yeah, it's the jock kind of thing. This is stuff I'm very familiar with, of course, growing up. All this stuff is this is very, very familiar to me. But Joe is not. I mean, I don't want to get into that. It's just not about Joe, but it's just when you're talking about fighting, what's so funny about fighting? It's a fight. Well, Joe Rogan would beg to differ. He'd say, "Oh, fighting is really funny. It's really funny. Well, it's what WWE, WWF. That's entertainment, man. Even if it's a real fight, it's so funny how this person said, "Oh, they're gonna totally just take this guy out. It never happened. Oh, what a joke." Well, Joe might find it really funny, and I can respect that Joe finds it funny. There are some things that are really funny about fights, but the thing about fighting is when two people are both giving it their best, or it's also when someone kind of toys with someone. It's obviously a much better fighter than someone else. So this is just a size difference. Like it's funny to see, and this is actually part of stand up. It's funny to see Sammy Davis Jr. try to fight. Um, what was the tall guy? Oh darn it! What's his name? Big center, black guy, way back. Wilt Chamberlain. So Wilt Chamberlain and Sammy Davis Jr. boxing. That's funny. That's just they knew it would work, and it did work. Sammy's a normal sized guy, and Wilt Chamberlain's gigantic, and you know, Sammy was also boxing in kind of an old fashioned way. And anyway, but a real fight, right? A real fight, not 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 comedy, not a show. You don't laugh at someone who is giving it their best, giving it their all. It really isn't done. Um, Afterwards, you have all the bravado, you have whatever, you have all the, you know, you have all the trash talk and stuff, and I'll get him next time, or whatever. Da, da, da. He got me. He got me. I know, but you can have all that talk. That's fine. Or I don't know. It's understandable, I suppose, but that's fighting, you know. And there's the Chuck Norris humor, as I mentioned before, somewhat. But again, all this stuff. There's so many different kinds of humor that you can at least see people and their reactions when they are laughing with you or at something else. And it's like you'd have to be very slow to not recognize at least that they find something funny, right? There are people that aren't as perceptive, or that are more sensitive, particularly more sensitive, that might think whenever someone laughs, whenever someone laughs at whatever, that somehow they're laughing at them. But this is not just with kids. There's just people who are very, very sensitive, where if they hear laughter, they might automatically assume that it's about them. And so they'll say, "Hey, are you laughing at me?" No, 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 it's something funny on TV or something. Right? And so, I'm mentioning all these, I cannot begin to think about the different types of humor there are. And also different cultures come into play here too. British humor, dark humor versus something, not just dark humor, the British humor, Blackadder stuff, right? Versus, humor in over Africa, or like, American Indian humor. They can poke fun at the whole "how me Indian, you white man" thing. One different, all that stuff, right? And where is this all going? When you're talking about online communication, just reading text, just text, no vocal inflections, No seeing the other person, nothing like that. And then, instead of this thing about, oh, with humor, it's like, it's not a question of whether or not everyone wants to entertain other people. It's not a question of, finding the funny stuff. No, no, no. No, with some of these idiots on YouTube, it's who got it the fastest? Who is the best at noticing supposed, you know, double meanings, or it's just a joke, stuff. Or, who's the slowest at that? Or who, they see a comment and they just assume that someone's thinking a certain way. In general, how often do people misunderstand other people online? All the freaking time. Why is that? Why do we misunderstand people online? Because we're not seeing them in person. We misunderstand people in real life as it is. So how the devil are we supposed to understand someone better when we aren't hearing their voices or seeing their faces? You guys tell me that. And it's just, and then there's a pack mentality. Sometimes it never ends. It just never ends. And it's the number of people. I don't know how old they are. It's the number of people that think this way. That just think that everyone should be able to see this. Everyone should respond to something the same way. No, that's not how the world works. Not everyone's going to respond to a comment the same way. When you see a really cute animal video about a dog who gets excited to go to the pet store, you can't always assume that everyone's going to go, oh, look at the little doggy. Oh, so cute. Oh, yeah. You're going to get a lot of comments that are going to be like that, right? Yeah. We kind of just, yep, yet another, oh, isn't that dog cute? Comment. But we do notice those comments that are maybe a little different, don't we? We notice and I'm not talking about something is wrong with your cat or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry for bringing that one up again, folks, but I still see that nonsense on YouTube. It's not going away. But we notice that when, not just the stupid PETA folks, right? I'm never going to eat meat. Oh, what we do notice is we notice the stuff that's like, if that dog was talking out loud, he would literally be saying, let's get out of the car and get into the store already. I can't wait. Something maybe a little bit more direct, perhaps. Or something more like, dude, get that dog into the store already, or give that dog that meat already, Something a little bit more pushy, right? It's the same deal with humor. And I don't need to mention Dave Chappelle in this regard, but yeah, a while back we were talking about one of Dave Chappelle's uh, food videos. I kid you guys not. I've mentioned this before. I know I have in some of my videos. So I get into this whole thing about what people in different areas of the world and different ethnicities, what they tend to eat, right? And one of the many responses to this comment I had was, this is one of the most racist yet not racist comments I've ever seen. So again, let me say that again. This person said, "Oh, this is one of the most racist, yet one of the most not racist comments I've ever seen." So why was it racist? Well, it was because I was making these cultural generalizations about what people eat. Why was it not racist? Because I was talking about food. I wasn't talking about something super deep and, these things that, you know, it's about just freaking food, man. This girl, I don't know, this woman got such a huff with me. A black woman, I can't. It was just such a long time ago. It's hard to remember this stuff. I can't remember if it's about Dave. I think it was the Dave Chappelle thing. And what I said, all the stuff I was saying it in a very straight man kind of way. But there's always a hint of humor where I was just like, I was basically just elaborating what Chappelle was saying. The whole, black people drink apple drink, not apple juice. What's apple juice, right? I want some apple drink. It's green, right? That kind of thing. And it just went into a lot more detail. And so, some people found it funny. So, it's like, yep, I can see that. Yep. And there's always the things about the foods we eat that can be a little telling about what we're like as well. This obsession with mayonnaise with a lot of white people, right? Yeah, of course it's funny. Sure, you laugh at it. Absolutely, why not? It is an obsession. I don't know why white people like mayonnaise so much in general, but that's a cultural. Oh, can we just? It's about food. What's the big deal, right? Call it about Southern white people that mac and cheese or whatever. I don't care, but someone got in such a huff. Some black woman again about what I. It was stupid. There was no reason for it. And then someone's people. But what I'm trying to say is that there are different people out there that perceive what people are saying in a very different way. If there's one thing I've learned in life, thus far in my life, is that you cannot assume that any two people are going to respond the same way to something that maybe you intended to be a joke or something you're intending to say seriously. One of the whole points of dry humor is so that you're trying to say something subtly, humorous, and so, but you want to do it in such a way where you don't want the other person that thinks that you're being serious. You don't want to. You don't want them to be the butt of the joke. You don't want it to be their expense. When they actually go, oh, I get it. You want it to be like you want to be nice to them, right? You got it. So you don't want to say gotcha, right? Maybe if you do that, you want to do it in a way that maybe like the guys did it on Goodfellas, where am I a joke? Am I funny? How am I funny? Am I like a clown? Do I amuse you, right? And then eventually, gotcha, right? But when after he said gotcha, it was like, oh, everything was okay, even though the guy Joe Pesci played a pretty low life guy. Sure, I gotta wrap this up. Catch you later. Take care. Bye.